Well, I set that my fastest time in the marathon at age 26, and to tell you the truth, that was the last personal record I've set in my running career. And it soon became obvious that to me, after several more years, that might be the last time I set a PR. So you got to refocus your goal. A physical therapist or physiotherapist, there's words are interchangeable, and we are experts in neuromuscular evaluation and treatment.
That is Joel Lyons, and I'm your host, Santosh Shiva. Welcome to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. Joel has been a competitive runner all his life, and by profession is a physiotherapist. Nice, huh? We get to talk about his personal journey as an 8-time Boston marathoner, the need to reset goals with age, and strategies to stay injury-free. Let's go and chat with Joel Lyons. Hey, Joel.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Thanks for being on the RunYogi Diaries, and appreciate you taking the time and joining us here.
I'm honored to be here. I know you've interviewed some pretty impressive people, so I'm very honored that you selected me to even have a conversation with. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I reached out to you for this conversation. So let me actually maybe kick that off and share with the audience a bit about what I know of you and what I thought would be great to have you in the show. So Joel and I go a long way. I lived in Memphis, and he was my physio. He fixed me. So thanks a lot for fixing me. I had a calf problem, and he fixed me. And then we became friends. And I also learned that he is a accomplished runner. And I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll dig in.
My background is I'm a lifelong Memphian. Born and raised here, and did all my education here in town, from grade school, kindergarten, all the way through 2 colleges. All were within 6 miles of my home, which is in the middle of Memphis. I went to a small liberal arts college called Rhodes College here in Memphis. I am married to Padma, and she was born in India, and came over here, and we met in postgraduate school. She's a dentist here in town, and also an avid athlete. But running is my real passion, and I really picked it up in high school. And in elementary school, I did all sports of football, baseball, basketball. And I knew, I had an inkling then that running was something that I could do. I would be batting first, because I could steal bases in baseball. And so when we got to high school, I thought, well, I'm going to take a shot at this event, and I started with track and field, and soon became apparent that the distance events were my best events. I wasn't quite as fast as the sprinters, and I had a great coach that many in the Memphis area know, legendary coach Frank Horton, who was an exercise physiologist, but also worked in the corporate world, and took time to help coach us. And I was fortunate enough to also run in college, and I ran all 4 years at, again, it's a Division III school in Memphis, Tennessee, Rhodes College. And then right after college, I knew that I wanted to run even further, and so I didn't run my first marathon until after I graduated from college and started on my track to running marathons and lots of different distance events. But that's a quick little summary. And,
You've been running for 47 years, 42 years.
42 years. Yep.
42 years. So there's longevity there. Yes, we didn't know you when you were in high school, so I'm sure you were great. But you're great now. 42 years, and I've got these numbers that you sent me, 67,000 miles of running. I don't know what the diameter of Earth is, but I don't know. I should have checked that before.
Yeah, I think I looked it up, and then bottom line, it's 2.5 times around the Earth is what I've run, I guess.
Yeah. So, what would be of interest is, how did you manage longevity? What have you done to be fit for this long? What has been your core strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question. Number one, it's the love of the sport, the love of activity, and I think I had a fair amount of success from the beginning in high school, and so it's that's pretty motivating. It's like, okay, you're halfway good at something, and it was easy to continue on from there for the love of the sport. And the average beginner has a hard time getting to the point, I think, at first just enjoying it. Their struggles with becoming fit, and just the difficulty. I mean, sweating for the first time, soreness in your muscles for the first time. Well, I was fortunate to be able to almost bypass that part because I had been active to begin with. And so I then, found out that, again, the distance was the better sport for me, the long distance running. And so I, gradually learned right from the beginning, again, from Coach Horton, that there's a proper balance. And I think that's if there was any one thing I could put on it is a balance of too much versus too little. And learning about taking proper rest, learning about cross training, learning about strengthening, flexibility, activities of the rest of your life, and putting those in proper perspective. And for me, and for a lot of runners, as you may know, it also becomes a social event. My closest friends are typically those guys that I run with on a regular basis. So that's again fulfilling. I just want to be with them and just to for community's sake. And it's worked well in this pandemic, because it's one of the few things that I feel safe about, because we're outdoors and it's easy to be apart from each other and not being really close physically. And so it's been a great activity to be able to do. And so it's not to say that, I haven't had my injuries though. I've had injuries. I've had most of them that I can relate to patients with. That when I had that injury, this is what I did, and so I get down when I have those injuries. Though there's no doubt when you ask about what helps with the longevity, my wife has helped me try to put things into proper perspective. That it's not everything about life, that the running and putting it into the proper priority. But I'm wanting to get back to it, and when I am injured, and so I have to be very patient and learn to let my body heal Fortunate enough, I have learned in my physical therapy world some of the proper treatments to do, and I've also got a good community of expert health advisors and doctors, podiatrists here in town that I can consult with to head in the right direction. And my buddies, they put me in place too. Say, hey, you don't need to do quite that much, or back off a little bit. And so there's a lot of variables, I think, that take into account about the longevity part of it. But I have made a conscious decision a while ago, because I have even patients that want to run fast and hard their whole life, and they're willing to give up the chance of not being able to run for a long period of time for the short term, accolades of doing well in a certain race. Well, as much as I like to compete, and I do, I like competition, but there's no doubt that my hope and my wish is that I can be running till one day before I pass away.
You've been 8-time Boston marathoner, right? You're one of those folks who only do Boston marathons. You're an elite runner.
Well, thank you.
So, how has it been for you over the years? I mean, I know you PR'd. Your PR was like what, 2:44 at one point. Is that something you did later in your running career, or was it in the beginning? How's pace been an issue for you, and how's that changed over as you aged older?
Well, I set that my fastest time in the marathon at age 26, and to tell you the truth, that was the last personal record I've set in my running career. And it soon became obvious that to me, after several more years, that might be the last time I set a PR. So you got to refocus your goals. I find that with coaching runners and treating patients that are in the running community, that they either go one way or another, that when they get to that point where their pace is not going to improve anymore, that, that's it, I'm going to quit and not do it. Or they put it in a perspective where they reset their goals. And so it's easy I say easy. One of the easy ways is, in the running community, we have age groups. It's like, okay, well, let me do well for my age group. Let me do well for the over 40, the masters. Let me do well for the over 50, the grandmasters. And so that's one way the people who are competitive can reshift their goals. But yeah, you have to come to grips with the fact that you're going to get slower. We all age, and resetting what is important to you in life. So again, I'm happy every day that I can go run, and that's a good goal for me. It's like I want to be able to keep on doing that and not hurt when I'm doing it. And so yeah, it's again, like I said, putting it in relation to everything else that's going on in your life, and not obsessing about the fact that I'm getting slower, because there's been times where I was like, oh, God, I wish I could have run that faster, but it doesn't take too long. It's like, okay, I'm able to go out for another run today. So yeah, that's what I've done.
What are your thoughts on heart rate monitoring, heart rate based training? Have you dabbled with that?
I have. I don't have the chest monitor, but I really do think it's a good way to monitor your workouts, and it most often helps people do is to slow down on their easy days. So many people will run one pace all the time, and really I learned early on that hard easy days is a good thing, and that we all should do some semblance of that. But people don't do that. Well, it becomes pretty obvious when you look at your heart rate and it stays at a certain level, with those heart rate monitors, and that you need to take it easier on some days. And this is whether you're competitive or not. I feel, because we get good, we get efficient at a certain pace, and if you're doing it for fitness, it's just like going for walks. After a while, just walking and at a leisurely pace, it's a little bit harder to burn the calories that you want to do. And so, people who run for fitness know that a hard day, easy day is going to be good for them, and also make them stronger. And I like to take that even a step further. It's good to have hard weeks, easy weeks, hard months, easy months, even hard years, easy years. Those athletes who are training for the Olympics, they have an easier year sometimes. After the Olympic year, they have a downtime. So you want to look at, especially if you're prone to injury, And so
yeah, that makes sense.
Those heart rate monitors do help a lot with that.
That's a great insight. I think the whole idea of alternating. You could even periodize your training, not just from a week basis or day basis. You could even do it on a monthly and yearly basis. That's an interesting insight. I mean, that's a new insight. I've never thought about it from that point of view.
Yeah.
Terrific. So good time to pivot into the physiotherapy part of it, right? And so I have some basic questions, and then maybe I'll let you talk about your own practice. And so one fundamental question, and I have, and a lot of people have, I get that from others as well, is chiropractor, physiotherapist, ortho. These are three main words that get thrown around in the running circle. So first off, what is the difference, and when does one go to one versus another, right?
A physical therapist or physiotherapist, there's words are interchangeable, and we are experts in neuromuscular evaluation and treatment. So a whole host of injuries or disease processes or dysfunctions that we work with. I'm a orthopedic specialist, board certified orthopedic specialist, so I've had extra training in that arena. But there are neurological specialists that work with stroke patients, and pediatric specialists, just many of the same specialty areas that you're used to with medicine, with doctors, and so we can't do surgery. We're not surgeons, so we can assess those things and do a physical therapy evaluation for our patients. And you can come to a physical therapist in the state of Tennessee, and it depends on which state you're in, how the law reads for this, but you can come directly to us, called direct access, without even a doctor's referral, and your insurance will pay for it. That's usually the next question that people will ask, and so you can see someone like me. We had to fight for that ability to do that several years ago, and I knew that it would be good for my practice, since I subspecialize in runners and athletes, because a lot of runners have overuse injuries. They have problems that I can assess well, and don't have to order x-rays, because that's another thing that we cannot do in the PT world. And we can't prescribe medicines. So we're not supposed to give advice about medicines. So those are some big differences between us and some of the other specialty areas. But we can continue to evaluate the problem and treat it from a physical therapy perspective. An orthopedic doctor is someone that you often will wonder, should I go to that person first, or even for that matter, your general practice doctor? And they again can prescribe medication, and they can order x-rays for mild problems, you might wonder when should I go to? Well, I think in the athletic world, in the overuse type of things, if you know, or if you have a minor ankle sprain, that you can come directly to a physical therapist. But if it's a certain amount of pain, or if you know that the injury might be that it needs to be x-rayed, then you're going straight to either GP or an ortho. Ortho doctors are surgeons, and they like to do surgeries. That's what they were trained to, but they assess all types of orthopedic injuries, and they probably see as many or more in their office that are non-surgical cases. But sometimes you want to go straight to them when you do have an orthopedic problem versus, hey, I'm feeling a little bit sick, or, things that you would go to your general practice doctor for. But the one good thing is you can go to a physical therapist, and they have a good relationship with the orthodox, and they can direct you to the right specialty, because just like a lot of other fields, the orthos have subspecialties. You have a foot specialist, a knee specialist, shoulder or back specialist, and so going right to the right one is sometimes very helpful. As for chiropractic, they go to a specialty chiropractic school that is separate from the medical practice, but they are physicians themselves, and they are experts, especially at the spine. When you have a spine problem, whether it be in your neck or back, they can assess it. They can order x-rays and do x-rays in their office. Their big go-to is manipulations, though. You hear about adjustments that people who go to chiropractors do, and they do that a lot, and from what I understand. And so if you feel like something's out of whack, that you twisted a certain way in your spine and can't straighten out, well, they could assess that. Many times the chiropractors are at odds with the traditional medicine that we feel like we in the physical therapy community and the orthopedic medical doctors are in. And so sometimes there's some, butting of heads because we're actually competing for some of the same patients. But it would be good if we could work together. They do what they do best when it's appropriate, and then refer to physical therapy or to medical doctors, and vice versa. Know our limitations, and they know their limitations would be the best way, because I'm definitely not the expert in everything, and we have to, in the practice of medicine, we need to know what our limitations are and when to refer properly. So chiropractors, they often aren't experts at rehabilitation exercises. That falls in the physical therapy realm. They will do an adjustment and sometimes say, well, come back again, and when it gets out of alignment, we'll put you back in. It would be good, in my opinion, if they sent you to a physical therapist after they do their adjustment, and we help train you to keep that in alignment, so you don't have to come back to either of us for long term. And orthos are, many doctors are familiar with physical therapy and work in conjunction with referring to us, but I definitely have to educate them at times about what we can do and what we can't do. They don't get a lot of training in what we do, and so I'm continuing to let them know what's in my realm of possibilities.
And so a question around prevention, right? There's a lot of debate around stretching with regards, in running. Should you stretch before? Should you stretch after? Which is better? Which is mandatory? If you were to do one stretch, is it before or after? What are your views on that?
I've tried to keep an open mind my entire career on this because it's a question that is often asked. And I was a firm believer that you needed to stretch before, and that it was also good to stretch after. But I've sort of changed my way. The bottom line is I haven't seen a lot of evidence in the research that says about the benefit in injury prevention and improved performance. With that being said, I think there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that you can be healthy by staying flexible. You think about people who do yoga, who do stretching on a regular basis, and how their benefits are there. You think about gymnasts and people in the martial arts and how big flexibility is for them. The proper timing of it, I'm starting to get more and more away from trying to hone it down. I think that the best avenue is to work on stretching at least several times a week. But I'm not saying it has to be before running, after running. I think at any time in the week what might be a good philosophy to do, but spending time working on it. I usually personally do it in conjunction with my weightlifting. I try to do some stretching in between it. I do a little bit of stretching before my runs, but these days it's limited. I do a little bit after, and many people say, well, your body is warmed up after the run, and that's a good time to benefit from the potential warmth and flexibility that you might be able to gain after that run. And so that they say to do that. I think that's a good thing to do. I'm starting to lean toward this scenario is using versions of the foam roll or the massage stick before and stretching after. But again, there's not hard research for either of those that say, again, you're going to be preventing some injuries and you're going to improve your performance. But if you've got a knot in your calf and you use, the massage stick to help mobilize it, I got to imagine that it's going to be some help in being able to avoid a strain of the surrounding musculature. So that's the direction I've been going toward.
Great, thank you. Terrific. So, any word of advice before we kind of wrap up our conversation? And also, I want to ask you, what is next for you in your running? So, there are two questions I had. One is any tips that you would give to a runner from a physiotherapy perspective, and second is what's next for you?
Probably we sort of hit on it earlier. I think running is a healthy thing to do. It's a sport that can introduce you to a great community, and I think setting proper goals and reassessing them on a regular basis will be a healthy thing to do, and put it in perspective with the rest of your life and what you're doing, and don't let nagging irritations and musculature joints go for too long. Oftentimes it might be 10 days that if it's not heading in the right direction, that you might want to seek some help. It might be a physical therapist, it might be a doctor, and then seek proper help. But I definitely think it's a great sport, and I've been glad to do it all these years. So I think that's what I do. Would recommend set proper goals and continue to reassess them. As for my, you were asking about my personal next goal. With this pandemic, I don't have any. There's no races on the horizon, and so I am not have set anyone in particular, and I am hopefully just coming off of an injury. I'm not sure if it's completely healed with my own foot that I've been seeking some help with, and my metatarsal areas, and it looks like I had a neuroma in my foot that is starting to improve. And so I want to get healthy before I set a goal race. But I usually like to set goal races, anywhere from the 5K to the half marathon to the marathon. I may have done my last marathon, but we'll see. And so I'm putting it off right now. I'm enjoying running with my buddies and just being able to have that kind of interaction. I enjoy getting on the trails. I'm a trail runner too, and I go regularly out there. And so right now, that's what I'm headed toward.
Terrific. All the best. I'd like, wishing you quick recovery on your injury, and hope to see you get back on your feet and conquer new territories and goals. And thanks a lot for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it, and keep on doing what you're doing, Santosh. It's a great thing.
Thank you.